So a very good afternoon to all the members here available with us. The last input session for today is writing learning outcomes, and we are going to discuss different learning outcomes at cognitive level. So when we are saying cognitive level, it is basically for the designing of the subject and courses that we have taught for our theory subjects. So in the previous session, when Sunil Dutt discussed about when Dr. Sunil Dutt sir discussed about systematic approach to the various instructional design, and for the online participants connected with us, when we said the use of different active learning strategies in teaching learning, as a teacher, I need to understand that it is not only the infrastructure resources that are available at my institute level, but at the same time, as a teacher, what is my comfort and what is my order when it comes to engage the classes for my student. So in what way you want to design your classes, for that you need to have certain objectives in your mind. So when I'm saying certain objective in your mind, as a teacher, what is your objective? What kind of knowledge, what kind of skill, or what kind of other ability you want to develop among your student population? So keeping this in view, and we are also given a recommendation for the design of different coursework files. So in those course planning, we need to have clearly enlist what are the different learning outcomes. Learning outcome in simple term means what my student will be able to do after the completion of this course or after the completion of this unit, and for a class after the completion of this particular class. Say for example, when I'm engaging this particular session for all of you, my objective as a teacher or my objective as a session expert is to have my students or my participants must have an understanding to design learning outcomes for the subject that they are going to teach at their institution. Say if you are the faculty of the engineering background, if you are the faculty for electronics engineering, if you are the faculty from the other branch that is computer science engineering, all the branches have a different kind of skills, different kind of knowledge, different kind of ability that need to be developed. As a chemical engineer, it is very easy for me to understand the concepts that is given in textile engineering or mechanical engineering, but at the same time it is very difficult for me to understand the conceptual knowledge as far as the other branches of engineering are concerned, because my formal education is not relating with that particular information. So writing learning outcomes, when we talk about, is always started with a program. So when I'm saying it is always started with the program means ACT provided you a model curriculum, and in that model curriculum already the program outcome, course outcome, and up to some extent learning outcome is being designed. So when I'm saying program outcomes, say for example, for the branch of computer science and engineering, after the completion of 3 years of diploma program or after the completion of 4 years of degree program, what my student will be able to do? The objective of the student is to get job. Any student who enrolled for a professional program means the major objective of that particular stakeholder is to get job. That is why he is earning a professional competency. So if after the completion of that formal education my student is not be able to absorb in the world of work, somewhere the competency that is developed by the particular institution is questionable. If job placement rate of any XYZ institution is low, program outcome means my student must be able to earn X number of skills, a Y number of knowledge and other skills. And if my student is not able to absorb by the word of work, somewhere we are not able to map the competencies that is available in the word market. So program outcome always aligned and always started with the vision and mission statement of your institution. Here next comes the program out. मैं आप चारों को ना उठा दूंगी यहाँ से. So when it comes to the major objective of the program outcome, it is aligned with the vision and mission statement of your institution. And then as per the nature of the branch, the program outcome need to be understood by the faculty before designing a course plan. In a given program, if it is a diploma level of a program, there are 36 different subjects that we are offering to the student. That can be theoretical subject or that can be practical subjects also. So in those 36 subjects, there is a different kind of knowledge, different kind of skill, and different kind of attitude that we are going to develop. We also uh, provide flexibility in terms of electives to our student. आपके core subjects होते हैं. There are core subject in a given branch of engineering. There are allied subject and there are elective subjects also. It means in a given course or in a given program, there is a combination of skill that we want to develop among our student population. We also taught them communication skill. We also taught them human resource management, quality management, industrial safety, engineering drawing. So there are a number of subjects that we are giving in a course. The objective to give those subjects in different courses is to develop a skill set and develop a knowledge parameter that is specific to that branch of engineering. And at the same time, there are different subjects that help us to develop a understanding of other dimensions in our day-to-day life and in the world of work. Computer science वाला engineering drawing क्यों पढ़ रहा है? बताओ क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? कंप्यूटर साइंस वाले को इंजीनियरिंग ड्राइंग क्यों ऑफर किया जाता है? एंड व्हाई दैट इंजीनियर नीड टू वर्क इन अ वर्कशॉप practices to design specific job with a specific dimension, with a specific quality. मैकेनिकल सिविल की तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि व्हाई दे नीड टू अंडरगो दैट पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट. Computer science and engineering ki, it is not only the knowledge of that particular subject, but it is also the level of excellence. When a job instructor said to you that produce a job within the specified dimension with this much of a quality, it means we are modifying the behavior of that learner to produce excellence in that particular field. And being a member of a technical community, that engineer need to understand what we mean by engineering drawing. In future to come, when he or she is visiting any XYZ industry, he must be able to understand what kind of processes, what kind of formulations are there in that particular industry. Only then he or she can offer other automated solutions to the industry. So in a program, when the different courses are being designed, those courses, the major objective is to develop different knowledge and skill among student population. And based on those courses and subject, in every course there are number of subject as per the curriculum that is enlisted for the student. So the major objective to design learning outcome is at lesson level. So program outcome need to be mapped with the course outcome, and course outcome need to be mapped with the lesson outcome. It means after the completion of those 36 subjects in a degree or a diploma program, my student must be able to achieve all the required competencies of that branch of engineering. So that is why lesson outcome, learning outcome need to be mapped with the course outcome, and course outcome need to be mapped with the program outcome. Let's take another example. Say for example, in a first semester, we always offer communication skills to the students as a subject. And during the course, during the program or during the course, we give seminar based activities to the student. Presentation is there. For every research project, the student need to present information in front of expert panel. What is the purpose of giving that presentation activity, seminar activity, or communication as a subject to that particular engineer?
Being an engineer, when he or she will be working in an industry or a company, so he or she should have a significant level of skills and competency at the stage where
he or she can present that information. Quality engineering department mein, if he or she is working, us case mein, if the engineer is involved in the process of writing manuals for the different product, the language in such a manner that everybody whosoever using that product is able to use the product after reading the instruction. कोई भी मैनुअल, कोई भी प्रोडक्ट जब आप डिजाइन करते हो, वट एवर इंफॉर्मेशन यू आर पासिंग फ्रॉम वन एंड टू अनदर एंड, दैट प्रोडक्ट मस्ट बी यूज्ड बाय अ सेगमेंट ऑफ सोसाइटी. So they must be able to understand that what you have written and how I am going to follow those instructions. So whenever we are designing the different courses, and as per the courses, when I am designing different lesson outcome, the objective must be very clear as a faculty that my objective is to train an engineer. हम उसे शेक्सपियर नहीं पढ़ा रहे ना इंग्लिश में, हम उसे क्या दे रहे हैं? अ बिट ऑफ लिटरेचर and then grammatical information need to be given and precise information how he or she is able to present that information. So communication is not the study of English language in engineering, it is the command over that particular language so that later on he or she is able to present information in an accurate manner. So that is why a set of courses given in a given program, and based on that program we are going to define different learning outcomes. So when we are saying aim or goal of any branch of engineering, that is as per the program outcomes and the course outcome that we have defined. Learning objective will be taught during the course or during the program. So as a teacher, what is my objective? Learning objectives are written or defined at the level of the faculty. When we said lesson outcome and learning outcome, these are specifically designed for student population. So when I'm saying the knowledge need to be developed among student, that is my learning objective. And learning outcome in that particular sense, maybe knowledge means my student must be able to define something, my student must be able to write a formula, my student must be able to apply a given formula for the problem that is defined for him or her. So that become the learning outcome. As a teacher, my learning objective was my student must be able to remember something. For remembering, defining is the learning outcome. So learning outcome are the statement what a student will be able to do or demonstrate at the completion of certain sequence of learning. So when I'm saying certain sequence of learning, the level of excellence a third semester student is able to achieve. It is not possible for a student of first semester to achieve that level of excellence. So when I'm saying define something, maybe my first semester student is able to just define something, but my third and fifth semester student is able to define something by giving two or three relevant examples. So when we are saying the sequence of learning, gradually we need to improve upon the performance of that candidate by providing him or her knowledge, skill, and attributes to that branch of engineering. Clear? Any question? Yes, the participants connected online. If there is any
So, dear participants, I guess ma'am got disconnected. Request all of you to remain connected. Ma'am, am I audible?
yes, you're audible to me.
Okay, okay.
Yes, is there any question from your side? The participants connected with us online. Okay, next thing that we need to understand is when we set the program outcome or the course outcome, the program outcome and course outcome, and we said it is at the level of the program or at the level of the course. So as far as the curriculum that is provided to the faculty members and to the student, that curriculum will define that what kind of instructional method you are going to use for that particular subject or for that particular course, and how you will be able to achieve different learning outcome that you have defined for your students. For example, if it is a theory class, in a theory class, maybe the teacher is using chalk and board method to teach the student or to clarify the concept. But if it is a practical class means skill oriented sessions need to be there. The teacher may demonstrate the whole activity to the student before the student taking part in that particular activity. So depending upon the nature of the subject, depending upon the objective of that particular program, the teacher is going to select different teaching practices as per the curriculum defined. So program outcome and course outcome is always based on the curriculum that is defined. And after analyzing the curriculum, we come to know that what kind of method or what kind of media I'm going to utilize to enhance the ability of my student. अगर आप प्रैक्टिकल क्लास में थ्योरी पढ़ाने लग जाओ, whether your students will be happy or not, पढ़ेंगे आपका सेशन वो, because आपने क्या कर दिया, a pattern is fixed, that a learning sequence is fixed, that for the next 2 hours you are going to perform a practical activity, that is a skill based session. So we will provide you hands on experience during that particular session. So after analyzing the curriculum, we come to know that what teaching method or what teaching media I am going to utilize. Learning objective means, as a teacher, I must have an understanding that depending upon the subject that is assigned to me, what kind of conceptual understanding I need to develop among student population, and what are the different theoretical concepts that need to be clear to the student, so that in the next sequence to come, say for example in civil engineering, when there is a subject of survey 1 and survey 2, the student will not be able to understand the content in survey 2 until and unless he or she is covered the subject survey 1. Chemical engineering mein, the student is not able to do thermodynamics part 2 if the concept of thermodynamic 1 and heat transfer 1 is not cleared to that particular candidate. So when we are saying learning objective, as a teacher, I need to understand up to what extent I need to advance information among student population, so that I can develop a conceptual clarity related to that particular subject. So when I'm saying up to what extent advanced information need to be developed among student, for a diploma level student, there may be more skill oriented session and less of the theoretical session. For a graduation program in engineering, there must be more focused upon the theoretical understanding of the information and lesser of the skill part. I'm not saying that skill part must not be there. It must be there, but that engineer or that student must have an conceptual clarity that whatever the type of problem is, he or she is able to apply the learned information in a given situation. For a diploma level student, a skill oriented session need more to be there, because after the formal education, their acceptance as per the word requirement is for the skill based activity rather than the theoretical understanding of that information. So when we are saying the learning objective, reasoning, problem solving, critical thinking, inquiry based learning, that need to be the part of engineering education, so that student must be able to learn and apply that information later on in his or her life. There are many students who are engineering graduate, but those students are not able to do minor skill jobs in their homes or in their professional environment, because the kind of skill that need to be there, that skill is not enhanced among that student population. हॉस्टल का जो रजिस्टर होता है ना हमारा गेट पे पड़ा हुआ, इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग पीएचडी स्टूडेंट इज राइटिंग एंड कंप्लेंट कि मेरे रूम का बल्ब फ्यूज हो गया, उसे चेंज कर दो. कौन से लेवल ऑफ एक्सीलेंस में है वो? डॉक्टरेट डिग्री. शी इज गोइंग टू अर्न अ डॉक्टरेट डिग्री इन फ्यू मंथ्स ऑफ टाइम, और वो इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग का स्टूडेंट इज नॉट एबल टू चेंज द लाइट ऑफ द रूम. So when we are saying the advanced information or advanced skill need to be developed, it is always as per the nature of the course that is assigned to that particular candidate. So when NEP 2020 is saying the holistic development of the student and lifelong learning skills need to be developed among student, formal education is not just passing examination and getting job. The kind of formal education that we are getting is to modulate the process of thinking we are into, and as per that thinking process, our action and behavior need to be in line with that. Otherwise वो आर्ट्स वाले में और इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर में कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. So when we are saying advanced information, it is as per the level of the candidate and as per the nature of the course he or she selected for their formal education. When we said learning outcome means the kind of the statement the teacher is able to give in to the student, so that later on the teacher is able to assess the level of understanding he or she is developing among student population. So in simple terms, when we are saying what is learning outcome, know what you are doing as a student, why you are doing it, what students are learning as a result, and make changes in the curriculum based on that particular information. Say after a month of teaching, you are conducting a mid semester test for your student, and you selected a test that is bit complex by nature, and you come to know that 40% of your class students are not able to pass that subject. So when 40% of the students are not able to pass that subject, is it the only the question about student performance? आप एक महीने से क्लास में पढ़ा रहे हो, आपने ही टेस्ट डिजाइन करा है, and if 40% of your class students are not able to pass a given subject, is it only the question of student performance? वो क्वेश्चन किस पे आएगा? इट इज ऑल्सो द क्वेश्चन अबाउट टीचिंग इफेक्टिवनेस ऑफ द फैकल्टी. From the last 30 days, you are interacting with the student population. You know the level of your student. Gradually, you need to improve upon the level. If that level of excellence is not possible for the student to achieve, do not demotivate your student by conducting such kind of a complex test. Gradually try to improve and develop their level of excellence. So as a teacher, when I'm saying we are going to make changes in the curriculum, it is not the overall curriculum. As a teacher, it is possible for me to design activities that in line with the modification of the behavior of the student. So I'm going to change the nature of the activity. Say for example, as a faculty from a technical institution, we always give written assignment to our students. When we are giving written assignment again and again to our students, we all copied that information from different resources and we provide those assignments to the faculty members. Teachers also know that we are not putting any effort for the completion of that assignment. Maybe one or two students are writing those assignment and left of the students are copying that assignment. So when I'm saying the development of the student as a whole and I'm going to make changes, rather than giving written assignment, I may shift my focus to presentation. I may shift my focus to giving a simple assignment in my classroom when I'm with my student and students are solving the problem in front of me as a faculty. So learning outcome means if you want to develop the level of the student at analysis, you want your student to analyze information. So rather than giving written assignment, solving a problem is a good approach to give to the student. Maybe one or two problems, but student have a flavor that when it comes to solve a problem, these are the different steps that we need to follow. So that need to be think upon by the teacher. So when the teacher is writing learning outcome for a student population, it is always stated in terms of student behavior. So when I'm saying student behavior, whatever activity that you are going to give to your student, how you are going to assess the performance of the student. Say when I'm saying communication skill, how you are going to assess the performance in terms of communication skill? Presentation or Viva? Group discussion, okay. When it comes to assess the performance of the student in terms of communication skill, even in a class when the teacher is asking question to the student, teacher can observe verbal as well as non-verbal behavior of the student. So that is the best presentation of the communication skill displayed by the student during that structured period. So when the students are nodding head, they are not always true that they are listening. They are just marking their presence. They are not at all understanding the information that is delivered by you as a teacher. So when we are saying assessing the performance in terms of communication skill, if it is a group based activity, everybody is interacting with another member of that particular group, it is difficult for us to assess the performance in terms of communication. In that particular case, the teacher need to design specific question that help me to assess the performance of the student as far as communication is concerned. When we saying measurable, learning outcome must always be measurable. Measurable means in a stipulated time period. एक semester कितने academic days का होता है? More or less average 40 days, 90 days. एक semester में more or less there are 90 days, and on those 90 days we have to define different kind of activities for the student. One activity is defined, that is internal assessment test, that you are going to conduct on a regular basis as per the calendar provided by the institute. Other classroom activities is being decided by the teacher. So when I'm saying the activity or the learning outcome must be measurable, and in the previous slide we said remembering means defining something. How I'm able to assess the performance of the student in terms of remembering? When I'm asking a viva voice a question, if my student is able to define something, it means his or her level of remembering is developed in a classroom. When my student is able to give me a formula, again remembering is developed. When my student is able to apply formula in a given problem, in that particular case understanding level of the student is being developed. When we are asking questions that are started with why, explain, it means my student is able to analyze that information. When we are asking for compare and contrasting information, if the student is able to give a response, it is clear to the faculty that the student is able to have analysis of the information given. When we are saying realistic, realistic means within that time period the information need to be given back to the student. Say in the initial phase of the semester you assign one activity to the student, and up to the end of the semester the marks or the score of that activity is not being provided to the student. So that activity serve no purpose rather than just killing the time of the student. Realistic means whatever learning outcome that you have decided, within a given period of time you need to assess that whether students are able to understand that content or not, and likewise the next instructional decision need to be made by the teacher. Say for example, आपने बहुत अच्छी क्लास ली and you consider yourself that this lecture is very good, very excellent, आज मैंने बहुत अच्छा deliver किया. But after few days when you move forward to the next topic, you come to know कि स्टूडेंट्स को तो पिछला ही कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर नहीं है. अगर उन्हें पिछला कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर नहीं है, it is not possible for me to move forward. Realistic means at the end of that particular class a small assessment need to be there to know that whether students are able to understand it fully or not. So when we are saying realistic, it is again dependent upon the level of the student. So when I'm saying level of the student, and say we have taken an example of communication skill, when I'm saying presentation skill or the communication skill of a master level student, so I'm expecting a level of excellence. For a PhD level, again, I'm asking for a level of excellence. For diploma and for a degree level student, we may expect that that student must not be very comfortable when it comes to presenting information. So they can gradually improve upon. But if a master level or PhD level student is not able to present information in an accurate manner, that student falls under the category of fail student or poor student in that particular performance. Up to that, that level of excellence need to be developed. Time frame need to be fixed. Whenever you give any activity to the student, along with that particular activity, the time frame need to be mentioned by the teacher. अब टाइम फ्रेम क्यों मेंशन करना है? Why we need to mention the time frame?
To plan the next activity, because they have submitted at the right time, then we can move further with the next topic.
Why we need to mention the time frame? Because last slide में हमने क्या किया? There is a learning sequence. Learning outcome means the student will be able to demonstrate the learning sequence, and based on that learning sequence only we will be able to cover the next part of the information. So next part of the information will be covered when the student is able to achieve the last defined target by the teacher. So that is why a time frame for every activity need to be confirmed. Next is whenever it comes to defining different learning outcome, till now it is defined as per Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy means derived from taxis plus nomia, means distribution by categories. Distribution by category means we can gradually improve upon. पहले आपको फॉर्मूला को लर्न करना पड़ेगा, फिर आपको प्रॉब्लम की अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करनी पड़ेगी. After learning problem, after understanding problem, learning the formula, you will be able to apply the formula in a given situation. So there is a category wise excellence the student is able to achieve. Same is defined by Bloom's in 1983, and after that, that particular research group defined the Bloom's taxonomy again in the year 2000, and based on the Bloom's taxonomy only, all kind of pedagogical approaches is being designed and used till date. So the lowest level of understanding that as a faculty we need to develop among student population is remembering. If my student EQ, IQ, ability, EQ means attitude of the student. कुछ बच्चे होते हैं ना पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहते, कुछ भी कर लो मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगा, एक आपकी क्लास में वो वाला एटीट्यूड भी होगा. देर आर स्टूडेंट हु वांट टू अचीव द लेवल ऑफ एक्सीलेंस. So lower level of understanding means up to remembering, understanding and applying. It is the responsibility of the faculty, despite of EQ and IQ level of the student, you must be able to train the student up to that level of excellence. Minimum level kya hai? Analysis, applying tak every student must be able to develop in your classroom environment. The students whose aptitude and attitude ability is up to the level of excellence, for those students the teacher must be able to cover the category up to creation. So it is not that every student in your class is able to score A or A++. It is also dependent upon their abilities and dependent upon their choices. But as a teacher, it is your responsibility to develop at least the lower thinking abilities among students. So the lowest ability is remembering. Then up to the level of understanding, student must be able to apply, analyze information, evaluate information and create information. So the most difficult part is creation. Best examples for creations are when the students are copying the behavior of the faculty in a laboratory environment and reproducing something. That creativity in pedagogy, creativity doesn't mean that student is going to design something novel or design something new. If my student is able to do something new very first time in his or her life, it means that student is able to achieve the level of excellence in terms of creation. Workshop mein, when the student is creating different kind of jobs. In a project class, when the student is designing a prototype model, maybe the specification or dimensions were not accurate, but that student is performing that level of excellence for the very first time in his or her life, it means the student is creative by nature. So that level of creation is achieved by the candidate. When we are saying the students are performing certain design related problem in a classroom environment, that student is developing association and relationship between different ideas. Engineering में हम assumptions लेते हैं ना, suppose this is this and this is this. It means after understanding a problem, the student is able to develop association and relationship between existing information. It means the student is able to create something maybe in writing. Arts में जब हम creation की बात करते हैं, it means something new, something novel. Engineering में creation means you are able to do something by your own for the very first time in his or her life. A student is able to do in his or her life, that is creation for that particular candidate. So that creation is not a global creation, but that creation is creation for a student. Even at home, a 2-year child, when he or she is making a painting, that is a creative product for that particular child. With formal education, we are able to enhance the level of creativity. So when we are saying creation, evaluation and analysis, for these learning outcomes to achieve, the pedagogical methods need to be different. अगर मैं अपनी क्लास में हमेशा स्टेटमेंट यही पूछूं, डिफाइन समथिंग, स्टेट द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ दिस एंड दिस, उस केस में आप क्रिएशन नहीं डेवलप कर पाओगे. हम कहाँ तक जाएंगे? रिमेम्बरिंग और अंडरस्टैंडिंग तक. whenever there is a discussion in a classroom environment. So by inauguration mein Dr. Singla was saying now I like noisy classes the more. So when there are more noisy classes means there is a more discussion that is happening in a class. Whenever there is a discussion, there is an idea generated, and with the help of idea generated, students are able to create something new, maybe in terms of knowledge, maybe in terms of skill, or maybe in terms of attitude. So, for the creation, evaluation, and analysis, the classes must be full of open ended questions. Open ended question means a problem can be resolved by taking multiple approaches. So, those classes help us to design creations. So, whenever we are writing learning outcome, it is always written with the help of an action verb. क्यों लिख रहे हैं action verb से? Because it is for a student population. स्टार्टिंग में हमने करा था सिंपल टर्म्स में लर्निंग आउटकम क्या है, व्हाट माय स्टूडेंट विल बी एबल टू डू. When there is able to do means action verb need to be there. So every learning outcome statement started with an action verb. So when we are saying remembering, previous Bloom's taxonomy mein knowledge means remembering, comprehension means understanding, application means applying. So when we are saying the remembering or the knowledge part, so what kind of statements the teacher can design and ask? It can be started with state, identify, select, define, name, match, or deliver, write, relate, perform. So there are many learning outcomes or the action verb the teacher can utilize. I will pass the PPTs to all of you at the end of the program. So comprehension means understanding level. So understanding means convert, compare, outline, translate, summarize. There are many question paper that started with discuss this and this, write a note on what do you mean by. So when I'm asking, learning outcome directly become the question paper statement. So when I'm saying what do you think of, my thinking may be different from your thinking. So there is not a specified or a structured answer. When I'm saying define something, I'm asking for a concrete definition. When I'm saying discuss about this, discussion always happen around the table. पेपर पेन पे कोई डिस्कशन नहीं होता. डिस्कशन कैन बी वेग ऑल्सो. So rather than writing discuss about, it must be illustrate, it must be explain, it must be identify, it must be compare. When I'm saying what do you think about, we can also ask critically evaluate this and this. So your statement must be specified by nature, that after reading that particular statement, what my student will be able to do. So in a specified time period, the student must be able to give response to that particular statement. So at every level, there are different action verbs the teacher need to use. हरियाणा का एक बार हमने क्वेश्चन पेपर एनालिसिस करा था. The technical board requested for the question paper analysis, and there are many subjects. आपके section A, section B and section C में the question paper is divided, and in the section A where 1 mark statements were there, in that particular section the teacher written as state slash write note slash define slash enlist, and नीचे ABCDEFG करके सारी उसने terms दे दी. It is up to the student that whether he want to define, whether he want to write a note, whether he want to enlist. So that is not a specific kind of behavior we are asking for student performance. So NEP 2020, when we are saying that we are going to implement NEP 2020 and there is offline online classrooms or sessions will be there for the student, as far as your assessment and evaluation purposes, activities are there. So when you are designing multiple choice questions for the students specifically for an online platform, the teacher cannot write a note. It is very difficult for you to define the correct response for that particular statement. So when we are saying learning outcome, it must be the behavior that you demanded from your student to demonstrate. When we are saying application means apply, illustrate, restructure, employ. So these are the different learning outcomes that we can use at different levels. Now the question arises when we said level of understanding. Understanding किस level पे? At what category understanding is there? Second level पे. But when I want to create something, when I want to analyze something or evaluate something, I need remembering and understanding. From first level to next level, I need to have certain achievement at the previous level. Only then it is possible for me to achieve the next level of sequence. That is why it is said teaching learning activities always happened in a structured kind of organized experiences by the teacher. So for creation also I need remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, and evaluating. Next is how many learning outcomes. How many learning outcomes need to be there for a lesson? अगर आपका 45 मिनट का क्लास है तो कितनी लर्निंग आउटकम डिजाइन करेंगे फॉर योर स्टूडेंट्स? Yes, the members available with us online. Alpana ma'am said 3. Ashish Prasha said 5. Thank you very much, Alpana and Ashish sir. बताइए अपना नंबर, कितनी लर्निंग आउटकम डिजाइन करोगे? 3, एटलीस्ट 3. ओके, 4 to 5. Learning outcome is not 3 or not 5 or not 4. It is totally dependent upon the level of the study. So when I'm saying level of the study, learning outcome are designed at a lesson level. Say for today class, what is the learning outcome that you want your student to achieve? So किस चीज पे depend करेगा? What topic you are going to deliver today? Is the topic simple by nature or complex by nature? If it is simple, it is possible for the teacher to achieve 3 or 4 learning outcome. If the topic is complex by nature, maybe the teacher is only able to give demonstration for 1 or 2 learning outcome. So when we are saying what kind of or how many learning outcome, first is it vary according to the level of the study. Second, it also dependent upon the award type. Award type means if it is a classroom assessment activity or if it is a final examination. Final examination, we are giving a final remark that this particular student is able to achieve this much level of excellence. Means is final paper ke baad there are no chances of improvement available with the student. The reason may be any, but we give a final remark and judgment that this particular student is not able to achieve higher than this for a subject. हमने उसका ग्रेड डिफाइन कर दिया कि उसका लेवल ऑफ एक्सीलेंस बी या सी पे है या ए पे है. बट इन अ क्लासरूम असेसमेंट we are providing opportunity to the student to improve upon. So when we are saying the different kind of learning outcome, it is also dependent upon is it a classroom assessment activity or the final assessment that you are carry forwarding it and the desired outcome. So when I'm saying define something, कितने मिनट चाहिए डेफिनेशन को लर्न करने के लिए? अगर IQ level is very minimal or very low, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. If IQ level is high, it may be 2 to 3 minutes to remember that information. When I'm saying analysis or creation, project work में when the students are being involved, 6 months time period for a diploma level student is given. So we are giving that much time period to achieve a single learning outcome, that is creation. But when I'm saying remembering, maybe 5 to 7 minutes serve a purpose. So it is also dependent upon at what level you are asking for that learning outcome. There is no set or ground number of learning outcome for a subject or course. The valid criteria क्या होगा? Able to support and enhance learning and provide optimum alignment with the content and resources and form of assessment. So when I'm saying last week only, we were discussing about the quality of doctorate level program that is happening all around the country. And there are many universities who take 5 to 7 years, in which the research scholars are taking 5 to 7 years for the completion of a doctorate level program. And at the same time, in the similar region, there are other universities who are giving doctorate level program for the same field of specialization in 2 to 3 months. 3 साल में भी PhD, 3 years सॉरी, 3 साल में भी PhD मिल रही है, 7 साल में भी PhD मिल रही है. क्वालिटी वेरी करेगी depending upon the quality of the research paper or the articles that is submitted by the candidate. We can easily assess the quality of that doctorate level program. So when we are saying the different learning outcome, what kind of learning environment is being created by the institute? If the institute is not spoon feeding information among student population, कुछ इंस्टीट्यूट होते हैं ना, पहली लाइन से लेके लास्ट वाली लाइन तक नोट टेकिंग एक्टिविटी होगी. Student will memorize that information and then reproduce that information. There are institutions where discussion based classes are there, open book tests are there. There are teachers who are not covering the curriculum, but they are covering the advanced topic in a given curriculum. Those candidates are able to develop their inquiry and critical thinking skill. The first institution candidate जहाँ पे note taking activities at par, उनका क्या develop होगा? Remembering and understanding. So depending upon the kind of learning environment that is being created, if, as per that learning environment only, the learning outcomes will be designed. So there is no valid criteria or set number for the learning outcome. It totally dependent upon what kind of learning environment is created at institute level, and what is the content that you are going to deliver, and what are the different type of resources that are available, and the type of assessment you are carry forwarding it. Just give me a second. Yes, Manisha, is there any question from your side?
मैम एक्चुअली आई वांटेड टू रिक्वेस्ट कि अगर आप HDMI आगे लगा लें, बिकॉज वो हिल रही थी ना बार बार आपका, वो अब फिर से हिल गई मैम जैसे. मैम आगे इसके सेंटर में शायद एक पोर्ट होगा. मैंने संदीप सर भी आ रहे हैं मैम, अभी उनको बोला है. आई कॉल्ड हिम.
संदीप भी बहुत टाइट है, खोलना आगे. ये HDMI केबल ना हिल रही है जब मैं यहाँ पे बढ़ाती हूँ. So in nutshell, when it comes to defining different learning outcome, we always started, when it comes to defining different learning outcome, it always started with the program objective. So whatever objective or whatever the outcomes of that particular branch of engineering, next step is, as per the program objective, we will define different course objectives. So there may be 30 to 36 subject offered in that particular program, and based on that particular program only, we are going to define different learning outcomes. So whatever next, as a teacher, we are going to define learner intended objective. So as a faculty, what I want my students to do, after those learning intended objective, there will be learning outcomes. Learning outcome will be designed at lesson level. So depending upon that particular subject, we are going to design different kind of learning outcomes. And after designing the different learning outcomes, it will become learning experiences for the student, and based on those learning experiences that as a teacher you have created in your class, you will define different classroom assessment activities. So when I'm saying what are the different learning experiences as a teacher you have created, so I'm saying that we are assessing the performance of the student or a candidate in terms of communication skill. So as a teacher you need to modulate that behavior in front of your class student. अगर एज अ टीचर मेरा कम्युनिकेशन स्किल अच्छा नहीं है, it is not possible for my student to demonstrate the level of excellence in that particular skill. When I'm giving a statement like define something or write a formula or enlist few examples, it that need to be the part of my teaching. So when I'm defining something, am I giving examples to my student to have information or have understanding about that particular definition? If not, it is not possible for me to assess the performance of the student in that particular category. When I want my student to perform something, it means in laboratories, my student must be able to see me performing something with those materials and equipment. Only then there is a transparent kind of assessment that is happening at institute level. So earlier, when there is a traditional way of teaching means teachers are delivering information and students are appearing for examination. It is possible for the teacher to perform in what way he or she wants to, but gradually when we are shifting from offline education to online education, everything will be recorded. Your question paper may not be set by your board or by your university. In the period to come, maybe the evaluation strategies is being set by the other organization. So that level of excellence or that level of quality need to be achieved at institute level. So it is a gradual change or a gradual shift that we are focusing upon. So with that gradual shift, we also need to improve the quality. That is why every accreditation board is asking for defining standard learning outcome. So when I'm saying standard learning outcome means अगर आपके सब्जेक्ट में कोई लर्निंग आउटकम यहाँ पे निटर चंडीगढ़ में डिफाइन करी है, the same learning outcome need to be followed by another institution in another location or another region. So that is the standardized kind of test we are able to design. कैसे होगा? AICT fix the condition na every institution must be NB accredited. Why every institution must be NB accredited? Because we all need to work on a same platform with same kind of quality and with same kind of learning experiences need to be there. Accreditation नहीं होगी तो क्या होगा? बंद हो जाएगा. 2 साल 3 साल बाद that program will be over. Yes sir.
Can learning outcomes be faculty dependent? If suppose a subject
No,
is
it is always curriculum dependent.
So if a
Teacher intended objective. When we are saying the learning objective defined by the teacher for his or herself, that as per the comfort or order of the faculty, but when it comes to learning outcome, it is always as per the curriculum given to them. So those learning outcome need to be mapped with course and program outcome. Who is going to define program outcome? It is the overall agency or the apex body that is giving different program outcomes. So learning outcome need to be mapped with those program outcome. So it is always as per the curriculum given. So when we set the different learning outcome must be clear, measurable, objective outcome of the student learning in line with assessment criteria. So whatever learning outcome you are designing, those learning outcomes directly become your question paper statement. Second is providing and create learning opportunity. So when I am saying my student must be able to evaluate something, my student must be able to create something. As a teacher, I need to find out that what are the different conditions provided to the student to create something new. If those conditions are not being provided, it means opportunities was not being given to the candidate to do something while the teacher is available in a class. For this particular generation, it is being said, and there are many surveys available, those are saying that we need not to spoon feed information. The resources are already available in abundance. We need to provide those resources to the student and use your classes for discussion based activity rather than repeating and developing that information again and again. So that need to be there. Assess the student learning outcome. So whatever learning outcome that you have designed as a teacher, it is your moral responsibility to assess the outcomes achieved by the student. If those achievements or those assessment results are not up to the mark, the department, at a lower level the faculty, and at a larger extent the department need to take corrective measure as far as faculty performance is concerned. So at the end of the semester, faculty cannot say that my students were not up to that level. That is why they are not able to score something high. They were not up to that level. That is why they were there with you for 90 days in a semester. So up to some extent, you need to modify the behavior of those learners. NEP is also providing us a flexibility to use different languages. So there must be three different languages used by the teacher. One can be regional, one can be national, and other is a global language that need to be developed at institute level so that students are able to understand the content in whatever language they are comfortable into. So that need to be there. So when there are assessment result, those assessment results are for the policy makers, it is for your stakeholders, it is for your organization to take corrective actions against faculty performance. So if the students are giving 90% of the feedback, somewhere is missing in a classroom environment, students are in a favor of that particular faculty. If the students are giving a feedback of 40% or say 50%, again something is fishy in that classroom environment. The management need to check the practices followed by the teacher in a class. So few examples, say when we are saying at remembering level, there are few example I have collected from the literature. Define CO2 fertilization effect from the subject of environmental sciences. State the second law of thermodynamic. State advantages and disadvantages of photocatalysis over adsorption. Label the parts of the lathe machine. Name two parts of soil foundation. Name the three major part of the heat exchanger. Give the full form of LAN and WAN. Write the formula for calculating shear force. इसमें एक आगे और ऐड होगा with SI unit or any unit that you demanded. Identify switch from the given figures. So when I'm saying name two parts of soil foundation, clearly mentioned name the three major part of the heat exchanger. So when we are saying that learning outcome directly become your question paper statements, so if the question is of 2 marks, student is giving two types of soil foundation, means one for one type of soil foundation. So clearly define the learning outcome so that assessment can be easy. At understanding level, explain the concept of flow of energy in an ecosystem. Differentiate between stress and strain. Differentiate between good and bad conductors of heat. Distinguish between grazing and detritus type of the food chain. Give examples of natural adsorbent which can be used in water treatment at a domestic level. तो ये क्या है, फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर का ओपन एंडेड क्वेश्चन फॉर द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ केमिस्ट्री. Chapter number 9. Interpret the relationship between pH of the solution and degradation efficiency. Project whether India will be able to achieve sustainable development goal by 2025 from the given data. So data is already given, interpretation of data is given, student just has to project. इसलिए वो किस में डाला हमने, अंडरस्टैंडिंग में. अगर प्रोजेक्ट ना होता, I'm using a different action verb for this. Identify that whether India following different strategies to achieve SDG, is it possible for us to achieve by 2025. तो ये किस लेवल का क्वेश्चन हो जाता है, evaluation. So depending upon the statement design, the level of excellence can be enhanced. Applying level, calculate the cost of electricity consumption used while performing the process of photocatalytic degradation in direct solar light. Is it an easy statement or a difficult statement? It is difficult statement. आपको पूरी फिजिक्स वाली थ्योरीज भी यहाँ पे अप्लाई करनी पड़ेंगी कि डायरेक्ट सोलर लाइट से कितना हीट प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है. Calculate technical and commercial transmission losses in a given locality. The concept is delivered to the student. Conceptual understanding, application based understanding is developed. After that, we are giving a real time example to calculate the transmission losses. Demonstrate the principle of inertia. We are asking, not asking for write the principle of inertia or state the principle of inertia. Applying पे क्या है? With the help of an example, the student need to demonstrate the principle of inertia. Demonstrate the role of non-verbal behavior in communication. So student need to explain these statements with the help of an example. Next is at problem solving level, analyzing, evaluating, and creation. Identify causes of air pollution in a given locality. So when I'm saying in a given locality, it is an hypothetical situation. First, the student need to select the locality. So locality can be UP, locality can be Haryana, locality can be Chandigarh. So there is a different level of air pollution indicator that is happening in these three different regions. So student need to identify the causes of the air pollution based on the location selected by the student. Locate a fault in the given process flow diagram of a paper based industry. So remembering में होता तो हम क्या कहते? Design a labeled diagram for paper based industry. Applying problem solving ने हमने क्या कर दिया? The diagram is given. Now the student must be able to identify a fault in a given process diagram. हो सकता है walls different लगाए हो, heat exchanger form और type need to be different. So student उस diagram को remember करके understand करके then apply कि कौन सा heat exchanger, किस तरह का pneumatic valve और controller need to be there. The student need to find out the different fault. Interpret the optimized condition to enhance efficiency of a given reaction for a preliminary data set. Judge the appropriateness of sustainable practices followed to achieve circular economy. So इस क्वेश्चन में स्टूडेंट को पहले क्या पता होना चाहिए? What are the different sustainable development goals and what are the different practices followed in those sustainable development goal to achieve circular practices at industrial level. Evaluate the effectiveness of teaching practices used for enhancing student performance. Design and heat exchanger at laboratory scale. Design a prototype model of a bridge of given specification. So these can be the examples of problem solving level, that is analysis, evaluation, and creation. So these are few of the examples that we can use. So in nutshell, when it comes to writing different learning outcome, it is always as per the skill, ability, and knowledge you want to develop among your students. Start with a clear statement. So when I'm saying clear statement means on the completion of this subject, course, or a program, students should be able to demonstrate, express, or design something. Future tense and chose a verb from a taxonomy. Avoid verbs susceptible to the different interpretation of what action they require. So when I'm saying to know about, understand something, become aware of, appreciate, learn a new thing, become familiar with, so these are all the vague terms. Every human member have a different kind of perception for the verb written. Latest example, my student was submitting a research paper in a good journal, and the morphology obtained was a flower shaped, and the shape of the flower is rose. So student simply mentioned a title, rose shaped morphology obtained for XYZ material. So the reviewer of that particular journal gave 19 different words that are interpreting the meaning of rose. So in different languages, rose has a different meaning. So when we are writing a research paper for a global audiences and we are simply writing rose shaped, so he's specifically asking a question, what kind of rose shape you are asking for or mentioning in that paper. So when we are saying the vague terms, every member have a different perception or a different level of vocabulary. So when it comes to the teaching learning activity, vocabulary need to be very simple, very clear, very concise, so that every member must have a same level of understanding for the term used by the teacher. Say for example, in a paper you written mitigate the effects of, or we can simply write control the effects of. Control is a term that is easily being understood by all the members of my class. When it comes to mitigate, there may be students who do not understand the meaning of that particular word. So when it comes to writing the learning outcome, because it directly become our question paper statement, it must be written in a very clear and simple language. And the final rule of learning outcome is we assess what is taught. अगर आप क्लास में एग्जांपल्स नहीं दे रहे हो, आप उसको क्वेश्चन पेपर में नहीं पूछ सकते. Whatever you are teaching, you are only going to assess that performance. So this is all about the different